I have arrived in Ojai, 2 hours north of Los Angeles, California. It is a small town with a large sense of community, almost like a family. Here, Byron Katie has made her home, or simply Katie, as she is known locally.
Okay, how the work was born, really, that's my story. Because prior to that, before that, I was so depressed and I was agoraphobic. In other words, I was so afraid to even leave my house, even leave my bedroom, and paranoid and so full of self-hatred. And I was so full of self-hating that I even would sleep on the floor next to my bed because I didn't believe I deserved a bed to sleep in. And this is very advanced depression, very deep, deep, dark depression. And then the mind hit and it just went bang, like that. And it was as though it was filled with all of these thoughts and beliefs, concepts. And in that moment, I saw how the word, how thoughts, how words is the beginning of everything. It created the whole world. So I began to laugh.
Maggie needs to sweep up.
Diane Jaffe is a mother of 3 and the owner of a hair salon. Her salon has been a social institution in Ojai for over 20 years.
Well, my name is Diane Jaffe, and it's been a journey. I live in a very small town and have many very close friends and have had a lot of struggles in my life and people who love me a lot. And I had a number of people coming to me with Katie's book, Loving What Is. And the first time it was given to me, I looked at it and I set it aside and I couldn't even focus on anything. It wasn't the right time. It just wasn't the right time. And probably a year later, somebody gave me that same book with the CD. And I put the CD on. And I heard her voice, and she was talking to me. And I got it. I got what she was saying. And it makes me feel like crying just thinking about it. There was something I really needed to hear that nobody else knew how to tell me. And it was so simple and so profound all at the same time. And I heard her. I had done a lot of therapy. My mother, my stepmother, my aunt and uncle, all therapists. I was studying to be a therapist. And after all the therapy, I was still in pain and I still couldn't get past it. And she saw something nobody that I'd ever learned from, talked to, had presented in the way she did before.
Here, close to her home, Katie established the World Center for the Work, reaching hundreds of thousands of people all over the world. This morning, Katie is recording the principles of the work for a tape supporting a women's organization.
Hello, I'm Byron Katie. In this video, we've explored how our thoughts create all our stress and how the stress affects our emotional and physical well-being. All the stress that we experience is caused not by the world, but by believing our own thoughts. It's caused by arguing with what is. If you'd like to explore this concept for yourself, I invite you to do the work. The work uses judgments as a starting point. Write about someone you haven't yet forgiven 100%. Please don't censor yourself.
So this is a big deal.
Allow yourself to be as critical and petty as you can. Then once you've completed the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, it's time to investigate each judgment using the work's 4 questions and turnarounds. The first question, is it true? And then, can you absolutely know that it's true? And the third question, how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? And the fourth question, who would you be without the thought? And then, of course, I invite you to turn around the thought.
My mind and my heart were wide open, and I heard her. And she spoke a language I could understand. Because so often, in trying to teach, people get very complicated and feel like they have to get very deep. And Katie's work is very deep, and it's so not complicated.
The work is comprised of 4 questions and their reversals. According to Katie, we see suffering as a necessary evil that we are not prepared to part with. Through these questions, the inaccuracies of this way of thinking are exposed.
My name is Eduardo Zambrano, and I'm 39 years old, and I work as an economics professor at the university in California. I was going to church with my family, and there was a bookstore in the church, and I love to read and browse all kinds of books, and that one particularly caught my attention. And I started practicing, the exercises that the book invites you to do. Then I got really, really serious about it when I was having stress in my marital life. And I said, okay, if this stuff's really real, I have to find out. And so I signed up for the 9-day school for the work. And then I really got to apply it, intensive from early morning to late at night, day after day after day, and I got to see its power.
I went to the school, which is 9 days in Los Angeles, left my family and left my work and went to Byron Katie boot camp, only it's upscale boot camp. And saw things and learned things that had been in my way for so long, and I just learned ways of looking at things differently, and something clicked inside of me. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like when somebody explains something to you and you don't understand and all of a sudden you see something clearly. And I had a significant amount of difficulty letting go of my youngest child and letting go of my ex-husband. And I thought I owned them, that they were mine. And all of a sudden I got that they were in my life, and they're not mine. I can't own anything or anybody or any place. And I really didn't know that. I knew that. When I left there, before I left there, I knew that. And that was huge, huge in my life.
My wife at the moment, she wasn't sure exactly whether she wanted to stay in the marriage or not. And I really believed that I wanted in. And so it was like this big conflict between what was real, which is she was having this thought about leaving, and my own fantasy that my life would be a disaster if she was gone. And so I was really in a lot of pain. I was crying all the time. I was depressed. I was making demands, and like things that don't really work. It's like that makes the person really go farther away from you, but that's all I knew how to do, even though I knew in principle that wasn't very useful. I couldn't help myself. And what happened in the school is that I learned that everything that I thought she was doing to me, it wasn't true. And like this, it takes going through the experience to really realize this for yourself, but that I was responsible for the suffering that I was going through, it wasn't her. She was just, making her choices and making her own mind about what she wanted, and being actually very, very kind enough about it that she would actually let me know, this is what I'm thinking. She wasn't hiding anything from me. And so at that school, I really saw that if I was a source of the problem, then that's great news, because it means that I can just pull myself out of that hole. I don't need her or anyone else to be in a particular way so that I'm okay. And that was the greatest news. I mean, that changed my life when I was able to see that everything that I wanted from her, I already had.
The second stage, the turnaround, shows how the exact same thinking, but this time internalized, transfers the choice into our hands. Here, the process of change and rebuilding begins, full of freedom and joy.
The turnaround is a way to experience the opposite of what you believe. You might be surprised by what you come up with. I encourage you to consider each turnaround, no matter how far out it may seem. Find at least 3 examples of how each turnaround is as true or truer in your life. Judge your neighbor, write it down, ask for questions, and turn it around. Welcome to the work. Good. I think that's good, huh? All right. All right.
Wow. So one of my favorite stories is how the work has impacted my life is my relationship with my mother. And she and I have had a very strained relationship, as a lot of people do with their mothers. And she just wasn't very important in my life. And I thought every time she gave me advice, I became a 17-year-old again. And through the process of the work, what I learned was that she loved me so much, that she wanted me to be successful, that she wanted me to have a very sweet life. And that's where all of her advice came from. And now when she gives me advice, I just can't love and appreciate her enough. And I just hear it so much differently. And she hasn't changed one bit. She still is exactly how she's always been. And for me, I've just come to have such gratitude and appreciation for her as a mother.
At Katie's house, I meet many people. Part of her work is done here. A sense of vitality and openness exude from everybody. Abundance and good are found everywhere.
Hi, sweetie. These 4 questions and turnaround allow me to take people to their own experience and to open to the possibility that what I've been believing forever as a human race isn't necessarily what I believed it to be. I understood that mind created everything, that there was nothing, and then what mind projected as something wasn't true from the other perspective, wasn't real from the other perspective, from the most profound perspective. Is it true? What I'm thinking and believing, can I absolutely know that it's true? And then, how do you react when you believe that thought? It can take you through your whole lifetime, any time you experience where you have believed that thoughts. And how do you react? Images happen. And you watch those images. And then emotions happen as you witness those images, and it'll show you the past and the past and the past. And it'll show you the future, your future. And the future you'll notice the reactions are reactions of fear.
There was a day in that school, and Katie asked a question like, just think of that moment when you think that it's just too unbearable to live. And I had a very specific moment in mind when I was very, very stressed. And she says, now find the part of you that is just perfectly okay, even as that's taking place. And for me, this felt like a foreign language. Like I didn't understand the question. This is crazy. And I just trusted the process, and I sat down and I became still and I just waited, and waited. And, it took some amount of waiting because I had no reference for what was coming, which was,
Katie returns again and again to the moment of waking up from the nightmare, to the moment where it all began.
What was it like the morning after?
New. It was new. Like there was a point where someone said, your husband and children are coming to see you, and they're going to take you home. And that was the first time I knew I had children, and it was the first time I knew I was married. It's the first time I knew that I had a home. It was a whole new identity. And then when they came, I was expecting babies. And here come these 3 grown children, the youngest one, 16. And they're saying, Mom, Mom, and I'm looking around, and it was me. You know, it was me. And it was all familiar. It was like a dream, like it still is today. But here's the beautiful thing. Who cares if it's a dream or not, if you're happy?
How's my life changed? I was able to see that the things that brought me the most pain were gifts, and the people that I was angriest at, it was about me. It wasn't about them. So I was able to turn it around in a way that I never could have understood or seen till I did. Before that, I've had a fairly dramatic and colorful life. And as much as I wouldn't change it because of what I've learned from it, there's been a lot of pain. And I really became the ultimate martyr. And I was righteous in it. I had every reason to be really angry with some of the people I was really angry at. And in my eyes, they really hurt me. And afterwards, my heart opened in a way I could not have anticipated. I went to my ex-husband, and I never in a gazillion years could have pictured saying this to him, but I walked up to my ex-husband and said, I didn't think it was okay to love you anymore, and I can't help but love you. I love you. And he said, I love you too. And I said, I know that. And this was somebody I was at war with. And it means the picture changes a little bit. And he's remarried, and his wife has had some physical challenges, health challenges, and I've reached out to be there for her, which was something I couldn't have done in the past. My oldest daughter has some emotional problems, some chemical imbalances, and I've had a very challenging relationship with her. And I've really learned to accept her for who she is and not need her to be anything other than who she is. And I thought she was dependent on me. I was dependent on her. I needed to let her go for both of us with an open heart and an open mind. And I was really struggling with that. And consequently, we're much closer now.
Diane and Eduardo are preparing for a session. Diane is about to become a facilitator for the school course. Eduardo is her tutor. The work method begins with basic courses, leading into a more advanced course, the school, and afterwards, those choosing to continue can train to become course facilitators and, at the next stage, coaches.
I'm frustrated with Hope because she doesn't take care of herself. I need Hope to love herself, be good to herself, and not abuse herself. Hope is creative, loving, angry, addicted, chemically out of balance. I don't ever want to be in contact with Hope when she is under the influence of any substance that she is abusing.
Thank you. So let's start at the top.
Okay.
So Hope does not take care of herself.
Yes.
So Diane, Hope does not take care of herself. Is that true?
Yes. It is true.
So Hope doesn't take care of herself. Can you absolutely know that that's true, that she doesn't take care of herself?
No. Not absolutely.
But I travel a lot. Look at this one. Life. This is so beautiful. You know, but there's nowhere I go that's not beautiful. Everywhere I go is beautiful. Everywhere I go feels like home. And it's, my mind doesn't have the ability to compare. It's just at home with what is. So I never really leave home.
Why is it you that was chosen to get this present to bring along to the world?
You know, I have funny responses to that, like, I can do this. I can do this. I know my job. My job is to make sure that as many people in the world know that the work exists.
It seems that the workday never ends. In the evening hours, Katie finds time to manage one-on-one sessions in front of an audience.
That way or whatever, and then,
So the plane is going to crash. Turn around, the plane is not going to crash, except in your head. That's where they've always crashed. You know, they're just crashing and crashing and crashing and blowing up in midair. And other than that, you know, no proof that that plane is going to crash. So it's like you're crashing it before it crashes. So let's say the plane is in the air and the engine's gone. They hit the birds. Okay? Okay, so the plane is doing this really weird thing now. Let's say you're way up there and now it's kind of starting to dive, okay? Okay. So who would you be without the thought the plane is going to crash?
Okay, I'm gonna really try to go there because.
Yeah. Because I'd really like you to discover who you are without the thought the plane's going to crash. You still have no proof.
Okay.
I mean, until it hits, there is no proof. And then when it hits, you don't care. There's no one there to, you know, there's just no one there to care. Before you believed what people were telling you, to drop into your heart and find out for yourself. I talk about going into the underworld, you know, down in the hole into the underworld that we're so frightened to go into because we don't know how to handle it. No one has told us how to handle it, and so we're frightened. And so to go down there into that underworld that overrides everything that is beautiful when we're frightened, and to question those thoughts until finally you've dealt with the underworld and there's nothing to override love. What is really true about this life? You know, the world is so beautiful. It's what we're believing about the world that we need to take a look at. We've had war on this planet from the beginning of the earliest literary texts that we have, even written in stone. Those early ones, they're all about war, the war with the self, the war with others. And so, you know, I see this work as the end of war. Let's say if I don't like you, what I'm believing about you is what I hold between us. So if I question that, I do the work with it, it drops. And there's nothing to stop me from loving you.
What really struck me about the work and what really made it very useful in my life is that it works with the ingredients of my own life. It's like I do the work on thoughts that would stress me about what's going on in my life. And so I'm very familiar with my life, so it doesn't take a lot of getting used to it. And And as I become intimate with the thought and with the content of my mind and with how I react when I believe the thought, and who would I be without this thought, I notice that there is this, basically like an intelligence, an inner source of wisdom, something that is alive, out of which all of the answers come. And that is always there. So the work just helps me in minutes just to tap into that intelligence. So if I'm ever confused about something, I just write down the thought, well, I don't know what to do. And I question my thoughts around that, and then wait, sitting still, just seeing, well, I know what to do, and what's an example of that. And it just begins to show me, how to live. And how do I know what to do? Well, I'm doing it already. And so as I get really, really close to exactly what's happening in my life, that kind of synchronization between reality and my own intention, then everything just flows more smoothly. And so how the work helps is that it's not foreign to your life, so the entire power lies in the answers that I bring, because the work doesn't have a doctrine. It's not a set of teachings. It's just a set of questions that Katie invites you to ask yourself about any thought that would be stressful. Katie for me is my friend, my mentor. It feels like someone has walked that path, and so can give kind of pointers, as to how the path looks like. She can't walk the path for me, she can't learn on my behalf, but she shows me what's possible. She's very, very, very kind and patient, and that shows me an example of how to be kind and patient in the world. She's also fearless and extremely clear, and so it shows me an example of how to be fearless and extremely clear, and without that being edgy or harsh. So it's like I can be soft and strong at the same time, and I am learning it from seeing how she lives her life, how she does her own inquiry, how she continues to learn from herself, how she keeps the process very, very simple, and how it's not about her. It's about the end of suffering. I've heard Katie say, I'm not suffering. Big deal. Are you suffering? That's what I'm interested in.
I've gone from being a victim in my life to seeing the blessings in everything that happens, including the pain. And I can see everyone in my life as a gift, and I can see what comes from that gift in a way I didn't understand before. And I just, the acceptance of what is, which is the greatest teaching from Katie's work, the accepting what is, knowing that what is, it can't be any other way. And when we don't accept what is, we're going to be in pain. And when she said to me, or said to all of us, 100% of our pain comes from not accepting what is, I analyzed things. Well, I analyzed that, and all I could come to was, she's 100% correct about that. And the minute we accept what is, all is okay. That was huge in my life.
This visit has revived my thanks for existence, to love what we have, as Katie says. The meeting with this incredible woman who emerged from the darkness, spreading her light, her fearlessness, and her ability to truly live in the moment, inspire me and will stay with me wherever I go.